There's power in that. And people need to realize that Nigeria is not going to fix itself by itself.
There was no warning, nothing. They came shooting. People were just dropping. I can't even explain that to you. It was such a chaotic scene that most times I find it difficult to close my eyes without seeing those scenes.
We want to live. We don't want people to die. Yeah. We want to what? Yeah. We don't want to what?
One needs to ask themselves why it is that they're even able to act like that in the first place.
They thought that they could shut us up, kill us like they did our parents, and keep going.
I'm angry. At first I was sad, but now I'm fucking angry because this is just too much.
All of this is interconnected.
We heard gunshots from behind the toll gate, because we were on one side of the toll gate, and we heard gunshots from behind and people running. So what we did was just to go down and sit down and just stay still, wave our flags. So because we believed that if we waved our flags, they would see that we are not here to cause any harm. We're not here to cause any troubles. We're just here protesting, as is our right to do so.
Nigeria's Special Anti Robbery Squad, also recognized as S.A.R.S. Initially beginning as a way to monitor accounts of robbery throughout the country of Nigeria, S.A.R.S had become a group of proud individuals who harassed and belittled people for their own personal gain. Taking note of this, the youth of Nigeria organized countless protests, recognized as the End SARS movement, in an effort to disband policing measures because it fostered a culture of injustice and civil unrest. Their cries fell on deaf ears as the government continued to pour empty promises of hope for what they considered to be SARS's reform.
You know, what has happened, especially in Lagos, is extremely unimaginable.
In reality, SARS had not been reformed in the slightest. They had just been given newer uniforms. This should sound familiar to us in the States, too. That is, the empty promises of police reform by government officials who would rather maintain a false sense of security that ensures the safety of the elite.
No, I don't support defunding the police.
Use a snappy slogan like defund the police, but you know you've lost a big audience the minute you say it. If you instead say, let's reform the police.
We've got to do much more to protect and respect the police. And we have to do much more.
Ever aware of these parallels, I set out to create a documentary done completely on Zoom and in the middle of a pandemic that explores the similarities and differences that live in the heart of militarized police forces across the globe. I wasn't alone, though. I looked to Sheun Babalola, a Bronx native currently residing in the DMV area whose work in grassroots activism makes him a helpful resource in this fight for justice.
How do we connect this understanding in order to get to a more community-based movement?
I think the single most important thing to understand is the fact that the institution of policing as it is intrinsically racist, right? It's intrinsically a white supremacist structure. And in understanding that, we see why there are similarities with the militarization of police in Nigeria, and why we see specific targeting of folks in Nigeria. All that is learned. This obsession with correction that we've created, that is a Western obsession with correction, that has trickled down into countries like Nigeria, has led to the demise of that country as it is, right?
According to an article on the militarization of U.S. domestic policing, the U.S. government placed an emphasis on combating who they consider to be homegrown terrorists, priding themselves on teaching others to base discipline off of mere human assumption.
I think a lot of countries around the world still struggle with the checks and balances. And I think where it separates and where it's different, in America though, the underpinning issue is that, or racism kind of stains that entire encounter with the police. In Nigeria though, it's not, right? For the most part, they're all black. We're all black there. So what is the issue, right? It's corruption.
Why were you picked up this morning? Because I was just walking. Okay. Yes. Because I was just walking. Your name again? Christopher Emmanuel Boji. picked up because I was working in my country.
I was just, so you could just say, like, just tell me what's going on today.
They're running out of lies. People are running out of lies. People are running out of things to say, and it's getting to a point where now where you have to address these things. So continuing that is really the biggest goal.
Our voices must be heard. Your voices must be heard. Yeah. What they're doing now, that's what they did to us 30 years ago.
Five for Five, a document that consists of 5 demands that were created by the Nigerian youth in response to the injustices of the S.A.R.S police unit. The demands are as follows.
1. Immediate release of all arrested protesters. 2. Justice for all deceased victims of police brutality and appropriate compensation for their families. 3. Setting up an independent body to oversee the investigation and prosecution of all reports of police misconduct within 10 days. 4. In line with the new Police Act, psychological evaluation and retraining to be confirmed by an independent body of all disbanded S.A.R.S officers before they can be redeployed. 5. Increase police salary so that they are adequately compensated for protecting lives and property of citizens. Signed, a Nigerian youth.
A lot of this is important because when we talk about the diaspora in general and the power that they hold, I think creating systems whereby the people in the diaspora have the power to influence politics and policies in Nigeria through applying that pressure. It's a turning point where people understand that they're in a country where these things shouldn't be happening, these things shouldn't be normalized. I think younger people understand that as well.
My name is Amarachuku Uzodu. I'm a 22-year-old senior at the illustrious Texas Southern University. I'm a content creator that is obsessed with human rights.
Enough keeping quiet against injustice and feeling like you can't do anything. It doesn't matter where you're at. Speak up against injustice. It's not enough for us to just sit down and be watching like it's television.
So I like to do content creating and stuff, but I still like to make sure that I'm making an effort to talk about things that go on around the world, especially when it pertains to Black people, most especially Africans, most especially Nigerians. When Nigeria changes, a lot of people are not gonna like it. Why? Because they're benefiting from the corruption and also learned things from white supremacists. Why is it that in Nigeria, if I have I had my textured hair, everybody's like, most girls out here are so quick to, oh, you need to perm your hair needs to be this. Like the way, oh girl, that's not at least.
What?
To Amarachuku's point, westernized beauty standards do celebrate whiteness in a way that guarantees a person's safety in every category, especially in relation to policing. This standard continues to uphold systems of white supremacy while allowing the police and its supporters to engage with citizens based on an us versus them mentality.
Look at Black African American rights. These people that stood in the front, at least putting their life on the line. In order for Nigeria to truly change, there has to be people willing to die for the cause. And we literally saw that during that S.A.R.S protest. We saw people saying, we die here. And that's what we needed. That's the energy that we still need.
The United States had to go through a series of wars, the Revolutionary War, the War of 1812, the Civil War. These are hallmarks in history that are going to mark the future of that country, of that nation. And it's always going to be a fight, right?
Anytime people stood up for change and wanted better for themselves, for their country, people had to die. And that is where Nigeria is at right now. And it's really sad that is the case, right? In 2019, people wanted a free and fair election. People organized around that and people died because of that, right? 2020, obviously, we've seen this emergence of this movement to end S.A.R.S. Although we're not seeing those type of drastic actions in the United States, it's important to understand that those parallels are still there, because when we look at the structure of police in America. We already know. You can be someone in a mental health crisis, with a mental health crisis, and die. You could be somebody asking a police officer a question and magically die in a jail cell. When you look at those parallels in the United States and in Nigeria, and how there are targeted state-sanctioned deaths in both of these countries, there should really be no other, instance to point to let folks know that all of this is interconnected. To that point, we really need to organize around that and around this idea that all of what is going on is interconnected.
The youth are leading that fight, the Black youth, right? I think the youth in Nigeria needed to stand up and make a movement out of it.
Everybody has a responsibility to play a part in making sure that everybody knows what's going on.
The success of Africa as a continent, this affects the success of Black people as a whole.
By now, we should all be asking ourselves, how can I actively resist injustice, even if it is from the couch in my own home? We can start by doing the following: amplifying, donating, doing your research, and participating in the fight for justice.
Even if it's one video you do, educate yourself or repost somebody else's video that did it. Even if that person don't have followers like that, you could be like, hey guys, I know some of you guys probably not interested, but please just watch the video. It's 5 minutes. It teaches you about the Nigerian government. We need people like that.
I'm excited to see this. There's so many young bright minds in that country.
I'm excited too. I'm excited for the brilliant Black minds who will continue to fight for change. I'm excited for new partnerships and advocacy. But most of all, I'm excited for the faces of our African diaspora to continue to rise up against a system that has no chance at stopping our collective power. Because Black lives matter everywhere.